So what's up everybody, it is a popular here. Hey. I got my booklet with me, I got my phone with me because we're gonna talk about this process or the process that I went through to get my plastic surgery. Is that my earring? Wow. The shenanigans already. So just before we get started, I do want to let you guys know I'm not going to touch on any AFIs. I don't touch anything in the book. Anything in the black and white book, I don't touch on it. So if you guys want to do your research, look into AFIs. There are AFIs that talk about convalescence leave, that talk about plastic surgery, or really it will be under elective surgeries. It's all that in there. However, I'm going to leave that to y'all. Also, another thing that I really want to stress to everyone, this is not just in this scenario, but what you should do in life, period. Trust, but verify. So I'm going to let you guys know what I did. I was told by all of my officials, anyone in the medical field, patient's advocate, my TRICARE liaison, I was already told that I went through the correct process. And they all know I have a YouTube channel, and I had talked about that being something I wanted to talk about, like going through the right process, because a lot of people don't want to go through the right process, which is kind of your prerogative, but you know what I'm saying? I'm going to give you the right way. But they were like, that would be great. You know, you went through the right process. And that would be great if maybe you could tell people and maybe help avoid from anyone getting kicked out. Granted, if you go about the surgery, you don't say nothing and nothing bad happens to you, bro, more power to you. But if you end up like me, bro,
don't say I didn't tell you, okay?
So always trust and verify. You know, I'm gonna let you guys know my process. However, I still want you guys to do your own research. Check with your chain of command, your supervisor. You know, still go through the same process as if you didn't know I was telling you this. So just don't take my word as 100%. Even though I feel like and know that I went through the right process, still, you get what I'm saying? That's just in life, period. So I recorded this video a couple times, and when I went through the process itself, I was like, wow, it's really only 3 main steps, technically. What I mean by that is, like, I mainly had to do these 3 things. Get the paperwork and pass it up, but after that, it was like, it really wasn't me doing anything. It was like my supervisor, my major, my superintendent, my commander. It was like all the higher ranks, all of those above me, you know, the ones that get paid the big bucks, they had to kind of like disseminate information and pass out my paperwork and then, you know, get everything approved so that I can take it over to med group. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to tell you guys after I tell you guys the 3 main steps is just like stuff that really don't got to do with you. It do, but it don't. You gonna see what I'm talking about. So boom, let's get into it. Okay, so my first step, 3 main steps are gonna be to talk to your supervisor. That's gonna be the first one. Actually, that might not be your first one. I'm gonna explain. Talk to your supervisor. It's gonna be your supervisor, your PCM, and then talking to your TRICARE liaison / health benefits advisor / debt collector, health beneficiary coordinator. So my first step was talking to my supervisor, but the reason why it was my first step is because once I got to my first duty station, I don't know, I just felt very comfortable. I felt like I could talk to my supervisor. Like I told you guys, the leadership in my office is great. So we had that rapport and that relationship to where I felt like I could be open and I can actually come to him and tell him, hey, this is, dang, where I could tell, that's bad, where I could tell him, hey, this is something that I am looking to get. Do you know how I should go about this? Like, how do I push this up? What do I need to do? You know, I felt like I could be open with him and very transparent. So just to tell you guys kind of how that went, I spoke to my supervisor. We lightly touched on the topic. I kind of explained to him the surgery. And of course, he didn't know nothing that I was talking about. He was like, oh my God. You know, he was kind of shocked. Not in a bad way. Like, he's very like, he's like me, you know, non-judgmental and, you know, like real free, real hippie like. So, you know, he was like, hey, that's, you know, if you want to do that, that's fine. It's just I have never had an airman come to me and ask about this. Like, I know people do get elective surgeries, but I just don't know the process. So he didn't know the process of what to do. However, if you have a good supervisor, like me, regardless of whether they know the process or not, a good supervisor will find out what the correct way is to go about the situation. He reassured me that he did not know what to do, but he would find out. So he would talk to whatever higher ranks that he needed to talk to, and then he would find out what the correct way is for me to go about it. So boom, I talked to my supervisor. Then after talking to my supervisor, I did get information that I needed to speak with my PCM and kind of go through the same process of explaining to him what I wanted to do, and then seeing kind of what their feedback was on the situation. In my experience, I don't know, everything was kind of easy from this point. I I went to my PCM. For those who don't know what a PCM is, your PCM is your doctor, primary care manager, your physician, the person who you go to when you go to the clinic, who is primarily over like your health needs, like who you go to see, who checks you up and all those things. And from that point, I talked to my PCM, let him know kind of what I wanted to do. Basically the same conversation that I had with my PCM, I had with my doctor. Touched on the surgery, what it is that I want to do. And honestly, y'all, I'm not saying it's gonna be like this for you guys. However, in my situation, it was very easy going. I mean, he kind of was like, I mean, that's your prerogative. I'm not gonna tell you not to get surgery, it's your body. If you wanna get surgery, that's fine. You look pretty healthy to me. I haven't seen any issues in your chart, so what you need to do from here is you need to talk to your TRICARE liaison. I'm sorry. Care liaison, health benefits advisor, debt collector, health beneficiary coordinator, elective surgery manager. You need to talk to them. And he told me where they were located. He said talk to them and they will let you know where to go from here. He basically said, you know, it's really not up to me. It is up to me, but it's really not up to me. And I was like, all right, cool, you know, big bet, I'm gonna get this surgery. So this is where, boom, wrote down the information that he told me and the title of whom it was that I needed to see next. I then went to the front desk in my clinic, asked them all these names. I was like, hello, hi, how are you? Do you know who the TRICARE liaison, health benefits advisor, debt collector, blah, 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 blah. Do you know who that is, who sits in that chair, and where they are located? They told me who sits in that chair and where I needed to go. So this person, I'm just gonna refer to them as my TRICARE liaison, if that's okay with y'all, because it's, you know, it's getting too, you know, the names is too much for me right now. I just can't handle it. But they told me where my TRICARE liaison was located, and she was actually located inside of the clinic in a separate section. Once I got all that information, I ended up scheduling an appointment with her. And honestly, when I went in there and talked to her about the procedure, it was like the same process with my supervisor and also my PCM. I told her that I wanted elective surgery, which obviously with her being the elective surgery manager or whatever that title is, she was like used to it. She was just like, oh, okay, you know, well, let me get the papers for you, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is that easy, you know what I'm saying? But I basically talked to her about the procedure, told her who I had spoken to my supervisor, and then I had spoken to my PCM, and they directed me to her, and then she told me what I needed to do from there. From there, she gave me 2 documents, correct? Shit. That I was gonna have this together. She informed me that she was gonna be giving me 2 separate documents, and those documents were going to have to be signed by me and also by my squadron commander. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a screenshot or like a recording, and I'm gonna put them on the screen so that you guys can kind of read over them yourself. However, the first form was an elective surgery form for MDG, which I think that's medical group. I'm not really good with my acronyms yet. You know, we have a lot of acronyms that we have to remember, so, you know, bear with me. And then the next sheet of paper that she ended up giving me, or the next document, was the HBA Beneficiary Counseling Memorandum for Active Duty. All right, Paige, come on, reading is fundamental. Memorandum for active duty members seeking elective civilian care. So she gave me both of those documents, and then 2 other documents that I would have to bring to my commander and also bring back to her. Brain fart. Final PT test score, my latest PT test score. And then also bring a document in from my surgical clinic, the surgery clinic that I will be going to get my procedure. Bringing a document basically stating what the projected time of recovery would be. The reason why for that is because when your commander looks at your documents and they look at the recovery time for the surgery, whether it's 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, whatever the case may be, they're going to be the main person letting you know whether that's feasible or not. You know, is this a feasible amount of time? Can we work with this? Is it going to disrupt the mission? You know, they're basically going to let you know if that's okay to do, you know, if that time is all right. So, yeah, I don't know. From that point, you know, and this is what I meant by, from this point, it kind of was like it was above me. So that right there was the main things as far as on my part. I just had to make sure I had all my documentation together, make sure I had researched my procedure just in case, you know, if my commander or superintendent asked me any questions, or if anyone asked me any questions, you know, that I knew exactly what I was doing. Because, you know, if you don't know, you know, if you're unsure, you know, they ain't gonna be sure with sending you, but you know, you gotta be educated on what you want to do. So I made sure to educate myself on what I wanted to do, let them know, you know, my projected date of when I would be thinking about getting surgery, and then, you know, I just had all my shit together. So yeah, y'all, that was basically the main steps. And then real quick, what I'm gonna do before we end the video is I'm just gonna quickly talk to you guys and show you guys kind of like how it went. supervisor. After speaking with my supervisor, I then booked an appointment with my primary care manager. After booking that appointment with my primary care manager, I then got directed to my health benefits advisor, TRICARE liaison, elective surgery manager, collector. Yes. I then went to them, went over the procedure, got the documents that I needed. I read over all the paperwork, did my my due diligence. So after that point of reading over all the paperwork and signing off on what I need to sign off on, I then presented it to my supervisor. From that point, what my supervisor did is he scheduled an appointment through the commander's assistant so that I could meet with the commander to further speak with the commander about the elective surgery procedure that I was looking to get. That way I can get his signature. So for me, it was a little different. My supervisor, again, went to my commander's assistant, set an appointment up with me to meet with the commander. However, before meeting with the commander, I did have to meet with my superintendent. So I met with my superintendent, and like I told you guys, all my leadership is like family and like the way we communicate with each other. So even when I was talking to my superintendent, I didn't feel uncomfortable. I let her know about the procedure, and we were able to talk about it not only in a professional manner, but she also spoke to me as if she was like, my aunt or someone. She just made sure, are you sure you want to get this? Have you considered all the risks? She talked to me from a perspective as if, she really cared. It wasn't just like master sergeant to airman. It was like, what I'm saying, like person to person, After that point of speaking with her and her feeling comfortable about the decision that I was making, she then spoke to the commander's assistant, talked about scheduling me to have an appointment with the commander, and then from that point, I then had a meeting with not only my commander but also the superintendent as well. As my superintendent explained it to me, she kind of wanted to be that buffer between me and the commander because, as you guys know, commanders, their schedule, I don't know if you know, but if you didn't know, you're about to know now. Commanders have stuff to do, okay? So they can't just stop what they're doing because you want to get elective surgery, okay? So, she was basically finding out all the information so that she can, disseminate it to my commander and, further allow us to be able to communicate without our meeting being too lengthy and too, stretched out. So, you know what I mean? She was just get touching bases with me so that the transition when talking to my commander would be a lot easier. At that point, when I spoke to my commander, I brought all 4 documents with me, being the elective surgery form, the memorandum, my PT test, and then also the note from my surgery clinic with the time that I would need for recovery or projected time. I don't know, some of this stuff I don't remember because it was so long ago, but I believe my commander then had to reach out to my major to make sure that I wasn't going to be deploying, or if a case scenario did come up where I was going to deploy, would there be somebody that would be able to fill in my spot? So they had to do a lot of work on that end. However, after everything was like CC'd, then my supervisor kind of had to write a letter. I don't know. This is what I meant by it was above me. Basically, bringing it back. After getting all my documents and everything approved, I then brought that paperwork back to my TRICARE liaison. And then from that point, if you thought we was done, we're not. At that point, my TRICARE liaison then pushed my paperwork up to the med group. Then from there, the med group then pushed my paperwork up to the director, the med director and med commander. And then from there, the med director and med commander looked at everything, and they then approved the timeliness of the surgery, and they also made sure that I was not separating within 6 months, because if you are separating the Air Force within 6 months, you cannot have surgery. So that was like the process. I don't know, that was kind of how everything went. So you see what I meant by like there's 3 main things that I did, and then after that it was kind of above me, do it with me. Above me. Those are going to be your 3 main things, and then any advice that I have for you after that is just to make sure you keep up with your paperwork, but also start this process ahead of time. If you know you want to get surgery at a certain projected date, make sure that you have enough time to go through that process, because yes, I just spoke about it and it may not seem like it was that long. However, no one's on your time, you're on everyone else's time. So like, that meeting with the commander, it could happen quick, it could happen slow. For me, thank God everything was kind of like this, but it might not be like that. So just make sure you give yourself enough time to kind of get everything together. I hope that made sense. I hope I was able to help somebody. Again, make sure to trust but verify. And yeah, I don't know, I hope you guys make the right decision and tell somebody, but if you don't, I try to tell you, it's up to you. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if there are any further questions, I hope there's not, but if there are, I will try to answer them down below. So you guys have a nice day.